The hearings are still a way off. Just talk us through what's going to happen from here.
Well, the hearings are a way off after some negotiating between the Republicans and the Democrats. What we're expecting tonight is the actual articles themselves will be walked into the Senate, and that will formally commence the Senate proceedings. And what we are going to see as well is the swearing in of the senators who will act as the jury. What's really going to be fascinating in this case is that those senators will be the ones that were in the Capitol building when that riot happened. And the charge against Donald Trump, it's the singular charge of inciting an insurrection against the United States. And so really what's going to make this so different to the last one is they're not going to be discussing really those facts of the case. What the real question will be is what culpability does Donald Trump have in his role on that day? So that's going to be a big part of it. We're already hearing some divisions, though, within the Republicans about whether they should be supporting this even tacitly, because there's the argument that they shouldn't be prosecuting the president now he's already left office. Now, the argument for that from the Democrats is that the precedent is that they can do that, because otherwise why have the charge of being able to preclude someone from running for office again? And that is their ultimate goal throughout all of this, which will require a separate vote if and when he's convicted. But in a split Senate, they'd still need 17 Republicans to cross the floor against the president. And that's really unlikely to happen, even with these clear divisions within the Republican Party. Meanwhile, new Majority Leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, was quick to dismiss that idea that they shouldn't be pursuing it now he's left office.
The Senate will conduct a timely and fair trial. I want to be very clear about that, because some of my Republican colleagues have latched on to a fringe legal theory that the Senate does not have the constitutional power to hold a trial because Donald Trump is no longer in office. This is not going to fly. The trial is going to happen. It is certainly and clearly constitutional. And if the former president is convicted, there will be a vote to disqualify him from future office.
The fact of whether this can happen in a constitutional sense, but also some debate about whether it should. Are there many Democrats, either elected Democrats or supporters, saying perhaps this isn't the best idea? If you want to unite the country, maybe just abandon this and take the high road?
There has been that mention, but really from the Democrats, they're kind of locked in against behind this. One of the other reasons that we have heard a few Democrats even voice support for the Republican approach is because this is a time when they're trying to get through a very crowded legislative agenda. They're trying to get through a $1.6 trillion stimulus package for the US economy. They're trying to get through different measures to combat the coronavirus pandemic here as well. So there is the argument that it's taking the time away from that. Joe Biden's been quick to dismiss that himself. He said that they can do both, suggested even split sessions at one point, but saying that even this 2-week delay is going to help them with some of that legislative agenda. More really the division we're seeing about it, and this is going to be the interesting part to watch, is from the Republicans, because this is so much of their rebuilding in the post-Trump era. Do they continue to focus on that more Trump element that got them through in the first place? They might lose those moderate middle-of-the-road voters in the meantime, but they are also staring down the fact that 74 million people did vote for Donald Trump, which is a not insignificant number, and they really risk isolating a lot of people if they do abandon that kind of Trump core to the party.
Yeah, obviously that temptation, if it was somehow to succeed, look, it seems unlikely, but that he couldn't run for president again, perhaps proving too tempting. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden, though, has overturned Donald Trump's ban on transgender military enrolment.
This was one of the more controversial orders from President Donald Trump when he was in office, to ban transgender people from joining the military. Now, this is something that Joe Biden had promised to act on quite quickly. Even the first day in office, they were changing the White House website, so forms being submitted had multiple gender options. So today was the big executive order announcement from Joe Biden that this transgender military ban being reversed. We also saw him enacting an executive order about supporting more US businesses, to direct more federal funding and procurement towards American businesses, and also, not quite an order, but a directive about international arrivals. And that's going to be quite significant in the coronavirus pandemic here, that they're now going to start limiting those foreigners from coming in, non-US citizens from hotspot countries, and enforcing stricter quarantine, or in some instances, just any kind of quarantine where there's been none at all. And really, that's going to be quite significant in the long run. But today, the main headline was this transgender military ban.
With this EO, no one will be separated or discharged from the military or denied reenlistment on the basis of gender identity. And for those transgender service members who were discharged or separated because of their gender identity, their cases will be re-examined. President Biden believes that gender identity should not be a bar to military service, and that America's strength is found in its diversity. America is stronger at home and around the world when it is inclusive.
Now, one of the more controversial things that Joe Biden said since he's come into office was about the trajectory of the coronavirus pandemic. Quite consistently throughout the election debates, he would say that he is the president that's going to help stop that trajectory being on the rise. Now, a few days ago, when he was speaking somewhat apparently off the cuff, he said that there's not much they can do to stop that trajectory going up, when he'd been talking about the death toll potentially reaching 500,000 American citizens. Because of that contradiction, it's something that was raised with him today in his press briefing. So here's the original statement and then the follow-up today.
If we fail to act, there will be a wave of evictions and foreclosures in the coming months as this pandemic rages on, because there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months.
Well, I'm going to shut down the virus, but I never said I'd do it in 2 months. I said it took a long time to get here. It's going to take a long time to beat it. And so we have millions of people out there who have the virus. We're just, for the first day, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I've been doing other things this morning, speaking with foreign leaders, but one of the things, I think this is one of the first days that the number has actually come down, the number of deaths and the number on a daily basis and the number of hospitalizations, et cetera. It's going to take time.
And Tom, in just one little bit of less depressing news coming out of the US Capitol at the moment, the first dogs have now moved into the White House, Major and Champ. Major is the first rescue dog in the White House as well. So another little bit of history being made.
All right, dogs and not cats, so apologies for that, Annelise, but there you go. They are man's best friend. Thank you. We're going to